Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining your project number one reflection assignment. So a reflection assignment is where we go back and reflect on or think about what happened, what we did over the process of writing the project. And I want to have this because it's important for you to realize that we want to think rather consciously about what we're doing as we're writing our project. Sometimes students feel like, well, I'll just kind of, do the final draft, and that's what happened, right? But realize that I have taken you through a number of steps. You had to do a writing plan, then you had to do a rough draft, then I asked you to do a revision plan where I made sure that you went back and looked at what I said on your rough draft. I may have asked you to talk to me, and then you move forward with doing your final draft. So at every stage, I wanted you to kind of think about what you were doing. I wanted you to do a writing plan so you're thinking very carefully before you just start writing the assignment, thinking about what you want to actually put in there. And that gives me an opportunity to check in and see how you're doing, give you some guidance. And then you do your rough draft. And then I want you to do that revision, wanted you to do that revision plan so that you would think about what were the comments that I made on your rough draft so you can think carefully about what you're supposed to be doing as you move forward to your final draft. So at every stage, I want you to be very consciously thinking about what it is that you're supposed to be doing as you're creating this project. And so the reflection assignment is a way to say, let's look back at the entire process and think about how the whole thing went. Because realize you're going to need to write two more projects for this course. The other projects that you write, they're going to be, we're going to go through a similar kind of a process. And as we go through those, I want to make sure that you are constantly making some improvements, right? So by the time we get to our third project, hopefully you've got your third project is going to be better than what you did for your first one. And the best way I think to do that is to think rather carefully about what you did in the first project, to think about why you did the things that you did, to what extent that they helped, anything like that, and then be able to carry those lessons forward for the other projects. So that's what we're thinking about doing here in the in this reflection assignment. So I say in here for the project number one reflection, you need to do the following seven things. One, copy exactly what I wrote under the click here to see my comments or summary of things to do from your rough draft. So I said some specific things on your rough draft. I want you to go back and make sure you know what those comments are. And then for two, I want you to think about what the comments were from your final draft. Putting those two things next to each other, comparing them, will give you some sense of, how well you made improvements to your final draft. So I want to make sure you're aware of how those fit together. Then I want you to think about the scores that you received in each category on your the rubric of your rough draft for thesis, supports, metaphors, organization, and grammar. It had said MLA format. There's no MLA format. And uh, uh, See what those scores were on your the rubric of your rough draft, then what the scores were on the final draft. The idea is that the scores should be getting better. If they're getting better, great, and then you recognize that. If they're not getting better, then that's something we need to think about, right? What can you be doing when you move forward to project numbers 2 and 3 to try and make sure that you are getting better scores as we move through there? So just list those scores. So the first four are fairly simple. All you need to do is say, this is what the comments were on my rough draft. This is what the comments were on my final draft. These were the rubric scores on my rough draft, and these were the rubric scores on my final draft. Then for number 5, if you received a 3 or less for your thesis on your rough draft, so that's going to be most of you. If you got a 3 or less, then I want you to copy the thesis from your rough draft and the thesis from your final draft and explain why you made the changes that you did. Or if you didn't make any changes as you move from the rough draft to the final draft, explain why you did not make any changes. If you got a 4 or more for your thesis, don't worry about it. But if you got a 3 or less, I want you to be thinking about what you did there, right? So go back and say, what were the changes? Why did you make them? Okay. If you received a 3 or less for supports and or metaphors on your rough draft, either copy one body paragraph that you changed, just one. You don't need to copy the whole thing, just one body paragraph that you change, and explain why you made the changes that you did, or explain why you did not make any changes to any of your body paragraphs. Now, most of you made some changes to your body paragraphs, so B probably won't apply. But for some people, they might have that is that their it means that their final draft was all the body paragraphs were exactly the same as their rough draft. That's a rare situation, but in any case, that might have happened for some people. So again, I just want you to copy one body paragraph and talk about just a couple of sentences about what you did there, why you did that. And again, I just want you to recognize what you were doing as you moved from one draft to the other, why you made the changes that you did. Then in number 7, this is the heart of this. In 250 words or more, tell the story of your overall experience with the project number 1 writing assignment. So you're just going to kind of tell a narrative, a story. This is what I did, right? This is how this whole thing happened. You should begin with how you chose a poem. You kind of wrote about that somewhat on the discussion boards, right? I asked you to talk about how you chose those. Oh, no, I'm sorry. On your writing plan, I asked you to talk about that. So you're going to talk about how you chose the poem, then discuss your experiences with the writing plan. How did that go? Right? If you had to have a conference with me after the writing plan, what happened? Were you confused about the writing plan? Just explain how the process worked. What happened with the writing plan, then how you moved to the rough draft, then to the revision plan, and then to the final draft. What was going on as you moved through those stages? Were you confused about anything as you went through? Did we talk? Did those conversations help? What other kinds of help did you receive? And so I just want to know the story of what happened, what exactly you did, and what kind of was your mindset as you went through that. And so I ask you questions like, did the steps help you understand how to best complete this project? If not, why didn't they? Right? If you had a phone conference with me or made an appointment with the Writing Center, did those appointments help? Why or why not? You can also discuss any technical or life problems you had completing this assignment, such as a broken computer, childcare issues, or having to work. And most importantly, if you are satisfied with the improvements you made as you move from your rough draft to your final draft, you can discuss what you learned in the process of making those improvements. If you are not satisfied with the improvements you made as you move from your rough draft to your final draft, you can discuss why you think that happened and what you'll do differently for the next writing project. So this is a really important part. What is it, are you satisfied with what happened? Do you think that this process worked out well for you? And if not, why? If you feel that maybe my explanations weren't as clear, feel free to go ahead and say that. If you feel that you were distracted because you had things going on in your life that kept you from being able to pay as much attention to this, you can talk about that. So whatever it is that you're seeing as an issue potentially of moving from the rough draft to the final draft, if there are any problems, state that. If you're satisfied with that, if you think it worked well, if you really understand more about how to write the project, having gone through this whole process, then go ahead and explain why that seemed to work for you. Again, the idea is to say, look, here's what happened in the past. What can we do for the next time to think about how we are going to create a new writing project, right? When we move to number 2, we're going to be going through the same process. We want to see some improvement as we're moving through those steps, and what specifically can we be doing to make sure that you are going to be showing some improvement as we move through. So that's what we need to do for the writing plan. Sorry, not the writing plan, the reflection assignment. Go ahead and complete that and upload that to turn it in.